Well, good evening, everyone, to our very first broadcast of On the Line Canada. I want to welcome everyone to the first official live broadcast of many. And it's just all about fishing talk. And, a good friend of mine's joining us this evening. And we were talking not too long ago. He's like, you know what we should do? We should do a show. So, not too long after, what do? We get a show. On the Other Line Canada is going to be mainly focused on fishing, people that have the passion for fishing in the outdoors. And we're looking forward to sharing some tactics, some tips, some stories, and really getting to understand what so many of us have learned through the passion of fishing and share a lot of stories. So without much more ado, I'm going to add my good buddy, Mitchell Lilley of Alberta Fish and Trips and Beyond. Mitch, welcome, bud.
Oh, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Good. Just going through some flies here. You caught me off guard.
Just getting stocked up. You have some fishing plans this weekend, maybe, do you? Or we're going to see you on the lake?
Yeah, we'll probably go maybe after some trout. I'm kind of a last minute guy, so who knows where I'm going to end up.
Yeah, you sound a lot like me in the fact that I have a tendency to want to plan, but then I have my days where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go fishing. Let's go see what's out there, what's going on. And, I think today we've got some topics to cover. And obviously you and we did our little bit of a speed round last night, which if anyone hasn't seen it, go over and check out the speed round 5 questions with Mitch last night when we were doing a bit of a trial run. And you'll actually probably get some good tips from him just in that stuff alone. So I think I probably learned more from you in 5 questions than anytime we're out fishing, because we're just focusing on the slayer, right? So
yeah, you're just throwing your hooks all over my boat anyway. So
well, I mean, I think if there's one thing I've taught anyone, organization's number one. But the most important part with organization is making sure your tackle box is closed, right?
Yeah, no, you put a yard sale and I'm still finding hooks, I think.
I think anybody that's fished with me that realizes how much space I take up on a boat already understands exactly what we're talking about. Whether it's a boat, a shack, a stream, whatever, I take up a lot of ground. So, I think out of all the topics we're going to start off with this week is talking about how the season is going. What's your experience been as far as, are you catching what you're targeting, or what's it been like for pressure this season?
Yeah, the bigger lakes around the bigger cities, the pressure's been hard. So you're still catching what you're targeting, but the numbers just aren't there like usual.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation with someone here not too long ago that said in 2020, there was actually 40,000 new licenses given for fishing. And I think, even for myself, like you said, close to city centers, even distance from city centers has been really tough. I know that for myself, it's been a struggle this year, man. I am not on fire. So
yeah, no, all the lakes are getting pounded. People are starting to explore. They're not going to work, so they got to do something.
Yeah, the new normal definitely pushes people to get to the outdoors, which is awesome. But with that being said, I mean, obviously everyone has their own secrets, their tips, their tactics, locations. Obviously, we're not going to put you on the spot tonight as to exact pins. I mean, you've already given them to me as a fee for being on the show, right? So I won't post those locations publicly, but I mean, for a small fee, you might be able to talk me into it. So
yeah, you gotta see where those pins go. They might just go nowhere. You never know.
Might be to the local sewage plant. We don't know where it's going to end up, but
probably just your local market.
Absolutely. I mean, anything's possible, right? Well, Mitch, tell us a little bit more about yourself. What really got you into the passion for fishing, into the sport?
Well, growing up around my family, they're all outdoorsmen and outdoors women. And it's just been like that since I was born, from either the Yukon to the States. So it covered a lot of ground, like fishing the Yukon, going up the Yukon River, hitting some backways for monster pike topwater to topwater bass fishing in Minnesota. And that was just the normal life for me when I was a kid, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I guess you probably get a lot of experiences. I know even for myself growing up, we started young, and going back to pressure, it was different for us growing up. I'm sure you saw it probably up north where, you could probably pretty much catch whatever you wanted on the first cast. That's what I remember a lot of. We go to a lot of these back ponds and stuff, and the hook doesn't even hit the water and fish on, right?
Oh yeah. It's just crazy sometimes. Like in the Yukon, you hit some of them back bays, you're throwing big Zara spooks, and it just hits the water, you let that ripple go, then you see 3 ripples just attacking it, and you're flexed out, and you've already pulled the lure out of the water and missed everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think probably the Yukon would be my bucket list, so maybe I'll have to be really good buddies with you, and we'll have to do a road trip.
Yeah, come up to the cabin.
Yeah, why not, eh? Get out there and give it a try. What species do you have up there? You got large grayling up there too, right?
Big grayling. Grayling are a blast on the dry fly. There's some beautiful creeks up there. You can just pound them. Lake trout, big pike. That's pretty much your target species when you're up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's the one nice thing is being able to target multiple species. I know for a lot of us, we're all in areas where there's multiple species, but it's a drive, right? And one thing I hear from friends in northern Alberta is, well, it's such a drive for this species, and you guys have it easy down there. But it's actually it's reversed. A lot of the species you're in central Alberta, so you probably have access to a little bit more than we do within distance. But then again, it all comes back to how far is a person willing to drive? Like, how far are you willing to drive for fish, Mitch?
Well, I've drove 24 hours, but that's what you do. That's once a year.
Yep. Well, and I know we'll be doing a little bit of a drive here in February, so we'll finally get a chance to get out and fish with you. I know you and I typically fish like 2 or 3 times a year, and it's funny, we were talking the other day, like time goes by so fast. I don't even know where the last year is gone. For obvious reasons, but really you would expect that we have more time on our hands. We'd get out more. I know for me, like for you, you're working Monday to Friday, right? We don't fish as much because I try to fish during the week and you're more accessible on the weekends.
Yeah, so we have to work during the week, most of us.
Yeah, so and that goes back to it. Like, are you finding that a lot of your spots that you would typically fish are now inundated with a lot of people? Like, are they more or less scaring the fish away for you? Or
there's a lot of areas that are just packed now, but a lot of those newer people don't know the areas to target, so those spots will still be open, and you can bypass them and hit those spots you already know of.
Right. Yeah, I know. Even for myself, I'm hearing about this a lot where we're finding a lot of people that are getting passion for the sport, wanting to get into it, are just saying, hey, where did you catch that? What spot? What location? And, as much as many of us want to be able to educate people on our passion for the sport and fishing, it's also very hard to help people understand that, there's a chance that I've had to work pretty hard to find this spot, and not to sound like the guy that doesn't want to share spots, but you kind of have to do some research, right? And there's a lot of good tools out there that we can use, kind of off topic, but what's one tool you would probably recommend people that are new to the sport trying?
Well, it all depends what you're going after. If every species, you have to have a different setup for different lure, different lines. And if you just want to get started, medium action rod, some 8-pound line, and you can get that for like $70 a Canadian Tire, nice setup, and you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually funny. I'm so indecisive with my setups, and one thing I've come to notice is, I don't know what you are like for setups. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but I'm not lying. I have like 10 fishing rods with 10 different setups, and it always seems like when I go to a lake, I'm not happy with this setup. And I know we have an advantage here in Alberta where we can fish 2 lines, but I just always find myself changing gear. And I'm not going to lie, as my girlfriend would say, I'm a little bit of a drama queen. When I see other guys catching, I'm like, oh, I got to use what they're using. And I just don't give it enough time. And I think that's that's the one thing that I've kind of learned from fishing with people like yourself and so many other people is it's about that patience, right? And I have a tendency to see shiny things and want to change it instantly. So it's one of those things where and we're gonna actually get into it, where we're gonna talk about your experience and your target species, which is tiger trout. So why don't you tell me why tiger trout is such an interest for you?
Well, they're just so aggressive, and they're such a beautiful fish. And Alberta just started stocking them, and they're continuing to stock in more and more lakes. So it's giving everybody a larger opportunity to get on them, and you don't got to make that a far drive.
Yeah.
Like you can open water, ice fishing, they're super aggressive. I never like to stop moving that lure. They're always hitting it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only done tigers once, and I just love the aggression, right? I've been doing some reading lately where they're becoming more popular. They're going to be stocked in a lot more ponds, sold privately as well. And I know recently on Facebook, we've been seeing some monster tiger trout, which is it's awesome to see how strong that fishery has become.
Yeah, no, they're super strong fish. They're a great fight. And you can see those sizes getting bigger from that first stock. And there's a lot of good lakes producing big fish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to see so many of these people putting them back. I am a firm believer that, I have this conversation with my buddy Darren. And Darren, I know you're on here. I call him a harvester. I'm more of a trophy guy. He's more of a harvester. And, putting them back and letting them grow, so many people are doing that now as part of the sport to see really, it's not going to be long before we start seeing some trophies come out of some pretty awesome lakes. So, seeing as this week your target species is tiger trout, you're going to give us some tactics as to what you like to do when you're targeting this species.
Yeah, no, like before you head to any lake, you're going to want to look it up and see that depth chart and find structure like points and drop offs. And I'm finding taggers mostly from 8 or about 10 to 4 feet, and they're just going to patrol in that area. But I find they're pretty territorial, like a brown. Mm-hmm. So they'll stick in that same area. And it's just going aggressive. And there's a bunch of different hooks. If you're just using a lure, I'm loving these Acme Hyperglides. Looks like a little stickleback, dace. And these things, just rip it. Just rip it. When you mark them, they hit it. Oh, it's gone.
Don't step on that one later. That's something I would do.
I'm getting it. There, safety first, kids. And then another one is nice jig. This is a nice orange rock hard jig with just a rubber body on it. Super sensitive, so you can just twitch that, and they just love that action. And then if you're all about flies, balanced minnows work awesome. Just keep them moving.
What a wicked idea.
As long as you're moving them. Dad tied me up a ton of boxes. He's been on his fly tying bench for a long time. Balanced leeches, gold beadhead, always a killer for anything.
Wow.
And yeah, the flies, even in the summer, these flies work great. Like you can just have them stacked, a bunch of different arsenal, and then different colors always work good. Just change it up if you're not getting that bite.
Yeah, that's quite a selection you have there. I know I have it's so funny you bring up flies. I actually have not been using a lot of flies for ice fishing. And I think that's a pretty valid point. I mean, there's a lot of people tying a lot of amazing products. And when it comes to flies, I can speak for myself. I wouldn't typically think of that, but a lot of these patterns will work even in the winter, right?
Oh, there's still bugs. There's still minnows. They get that nice flow and they just work great.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be dragging my flies with me a little bit more. And like I say, we both know. You said your dad's been tying a long time. Is that what you said?
Oh, he's tied me so many boxes this year. It's crazy. It just
Yeah,
sits. Can't really go do anything, so he's just tying box after box.
I find it's such a skill, and I mean, I have a lot of respect. We all know people that tie. I just don't know that I have the patience or the skill to get into it.
Well, you got those big monkey mitts, so
Yeah, it's going to be more like larger flies. Definitely not going to be a dry fly kind of tire, but I think I'll just leave it for the pros. It's probably better off that way.
support local.
Yep, that's the way to do it, right? There's, like I say, many people, and we're going to have them on the show over the coming weeks that do that kind of stuff. Bobby's just saying streamers only. Yeah, something big, right?
They love it. They're aggressive.
Actually, Darren's asking, what's your success with woolly buggers in winter?
Balance leeches. I've caught more rainbows that way. Not as much taggers. They like the movement.
Mm-hmm.
I usually run a balanced leech, then about a 2-foot drop to a San Juan worm with gold in it and a bead head.
Yep.
And you put that on the bottom because they typically stay lower to the bottom, the San Juan worm imitations. So that's always a good one. And I've caught so many fish on that little San Juan worm. It's incredible.
The other thing I was going to ask you, and I've actually seen a lot of videos on this, where guys are going to a spot, setting up their camera to see what is in there for activity for bugs to, more or less match the hatch. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can drop it down. And if you got a little weed cover on the bottom, stir up that ground because that's going to release all the bugs out of those weeds and they're going to float up. So you'll be able to see what's rolling around down there. But all the time, there's dragonflies, damselflies, caddis larvae, leeches. They're always there. Back swimmers. They never leave.
Right. So, kind of back to the tactics and the setup. What are you typically running for line or a rod reel combo when you are targeting tiger trout?
Well, I got 2 setups here. Even like this one's set up with a spoon. Silver Williams, classic. Slay a lot of things. 6-pound line, medium light rod. And this is inline reel for pissy fun. Just came out this year. Been testing it out. Pretty smooth reel. It likes the heavier stuff. So if it's got a little weight, like the Acme Hyper Rattles, this thing just drops with that free spool. You get it down there fast because sometimes those taggers, there's 2 of them. So you just get one up and that other one's going to be down there waiting for that next bait. And you can just get that one back in the water, drop it, and have a good chance of catching that next one.
That's amazing. Now, it's funny, we're kind of talking about the whole free fall reel concept. I actually run them for a lot of my smaller fish. And I don't know what your experience has been, but I hear this sometimes where guys are having issues with them icing up. Is there certain applications where you just wouldn't recommend them, or is it more of a user-friendly type thing? Because I always find it's like bait casting reels, right? I don't use bait casting reels, but I know a lot of people that do. And I call it a bit more of a talent, but I think it's a whole lot of practice.
It's my first year running this new reel. It just got sent in, so it's I haven't had no messes with it yet. As long as that thing spools out good, you're fine. It's more like a fly reel, so your drag's set a little looser, so you don't have as much control as a standard open cast. Like this, I feel the drag has a little more control. Like you can work the reel more with the inline reel. You're controlling it more, holding the reel if you had a fly reel, working the drag more.
Right.
And that's what I've seen from using it. I haven't had the chance for it to ice up. I've had it out on the water, put it in some snow. It hasn't iced up yet, but we just haven't hit those weather conditions yet to see.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's been super mild, right? I mean it's crazy weather-wise. Now you had kind of mentioned like with the Acme Hyperglide, a lot of action. What has your experience been dead sticking versus a lot of movement? We know that there's a lot of, products on the market like the jaw jackers, the auto jackers, stuff like that. What's your experience when you're targeting this species as far as what you prefer?
I find for taggers more, always be moving, keep that jig moving, because they like the chase. That's what they like. But there is certain lakes that aren't in the ES section of Alberta that you can use minnows in certain stock ponds and etc. And for those, a little tungsten, those small 1.5 minnows, those smaller ones, works good. And that's where the jaw jacker yard sale.
This guy's already got his jacker ready.
That's where they excel. And they're good for rainbows too, with those smaller flies. Like I caught my best rainbow this year through the ice on just a jaw jacker and a small tungsten and some maggots right on the bottom.
Wow.
Looking for perch.
Yeah. It's amazing what you'll find when you're looking for something other than what you actually catch.
Yeah, when I was targeting other fish, but that's the way she goes and I'll take it.
Yeah. And in your experience, are you finding, like, I know some species love to roam, some are very territorial. So when we're going to, Lake X, what's your thought on, from a tactic standpoint, are we going to be wanting to move around a lot, or are we going to want to stay stationary? What's your experience?
For most of those catch and release lakes, those taggers are going to stay pretty much in the same area. So if you catch them in that one area, you're probably going to catch another or a few. They'll have that usually right on the edge of that weed line. So you're going to have your bait fish hugged right against that weed line, hiding in there, and they'll just be cruising there. That one that gets out too far gets slammed, and you'll see them go into shallow, chasing them on top.
Wow. And then tactics. Now, I know there's a lot of conversation about this, and Ricky's giving you the gears. Just so you know, Ricky Hoffland's in here. He's giving you the gears. He's asking if it's taggers or tigers.
Oh, man. I don't know how to say taggers or tigers.
Tigger, tiger, tagger. I guess it all depends. So long as you're catching, does it really matter? And, seeing questions on here, we've got quite a few people watching. So if you do have any questions for Mitch or myself, but more preferably Mitch, because he is the pro, we're going to be seeing a lot of Mitch on this show. Jared's just saying, yeah, he does like taggers.
Taggers.
Yeah. So what I was asking was, we know, and we're only talking about one species, but in general, what is your experience in targeting this species with a camera versus a flasher?
I have never targeted them with a camera. I'm a flasher guy for trout. Just because if you have that camera down, you're seeing this much of your water column. That much. So if you have that flasher going, you can see that mid column. I've caught a lot of taggers in that mid column because I'm working it from a foot off the bottom to 5 feet off the bottom, just ripping it just to get their attention. And when they come in, you just put it on them and just give it a little twitch, lift lightly. Then you'll just feel that weight. If they don't smash it, you'll just feel them on there. Boom, set it, game on.
Well, that's one area I also lack in is the set. I don't know what it is, but I seem to find that, I'm a little bit rusty in the whole set. I get a little bit anxious. I have a tendency to rip it out before it's actually ready to be set. So probably going to require a little more practice.
Just hesitate a little longer. Give them that extra second.
Absolutely. And obviously you have your sonar of choice in the background there, right? Is that typically what you're running for equipment? Yeah,
I love the Vexilars. Like, it's so spot on. marks everything. You see the bottom good. Like when you bring your hook down to that bottom, you might have like this much fluctuation in your sonar. And when you're beside other guys, like I know of some other companies, you get a lot of what's that word? When your flashes go all crazy.
Yeah, like a lot of interference.
Yeah. And Blexars tend not to put off a lot of interference, and you don't get much interference on there. You just cancel it out. And the good thing about this one is the FL18, you can be in 100 feet of water and it can go split screen mode. So you can have it just shows the 6 foot bottom on the one side, then your whole water column on the other. So you can really get that focused on the bottom if that's what you're really focusing on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, I run the Garmin, the 75 SV. And I think one thing I've noticed with that is I've had almost everything, and I've borrowed other people's and tried everything. Is, you kind of mentioned about the interference. And I noticed that, depending obviously on the setting or even the depth, sometimes your interference is going to be a little bit different, right? But yeah, I have used those units and they seem to be phenomenal for stuff like that. So
yeah, I love them.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, everyone has their preferences, right? But
yeah,
for me, I miss my old LX9.
Oh, what a sob story.
I know. Don't even get me started. I mean, obviously, you're a sonar guy. Do you run a camera at all?
I love cameras for more of, depending on location, walleye.
Mm-hmm.
Perch. I really like them for perch just because sometimes that bite's so subtle. You can mark them on the camera all day and kind of lift slowly, but sometimes that whole screen's marked up on your flasher because there's a few of them. Mm-hmm. So you're not really getting that view of when they just suck it in for that second before they kick it out.
Right. Yeah, that's a very valid point. Again, I'm not catching anything this year at the rate I'm going, so I mean, I've had my camera out a few times and the ground looks cool. It's cool looking at weeds.
Well, it's a start, I guess.
Yeah, I actually just today, I'll be able to actually fish again tomorrow. I had to buy a new sonar, a new transducer. Apparently, when you don't look after your equipment.
What did you do?
I decided to get a little bit anxious and have stuff on top of my transducer, and actually probably have an example here of what not to do with your gear. And anyone that's ever fished with me knows Todd gets a little bit antsy, right, when things aren't going his way. And so this is my old transducer. It had a good run. But, of course, I found out there was an issue with it when I needed it the most. So Darren was kind enough to lend me his for a day for us to go out and chase bulls, which was phenomenal. But, yeah, if you're not looking after your gear, you're going to probably run into some problems, right?
Yeah, coats are a good thing.
Absolutely, yep.
Get those totes filled and they go in the box good and protect everything.
So, we're talking about pressure. How far of a commute is it for you to be able to target tigers?
This time of the season, the ones that are around they're freshly stocked. So it's only like an hour and 20 minutes, but they're small. So they're not high on my priority list right now. But if people respect them and don't want to chomp on them too much, some of these lakes will be getting really big.
Have you eaten one?
Nope. I don't think I will.
It's almost one of those things where I know there's a few species out there where you want to try them, but you're just not 100% sure that it's even right.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I like putting them back. I love seeing them. I love seeing them with a big type. I love seeing those big taggers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's anything better. What's the largest one you've ever caught?
I think I'm sitting at 18 right now just because that's what the lake was at.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, I mean it. I don't know what their growth rate is. I haven't really researched them a lot, but I would assume it probably doesn't take long for them to put on some size, right?
Seems like almost 2 inches in a year. It seems like, from what I've seen in the lake that was stocked first around here.
Yep.
And yeah, it varies around there to 1 inch, but they put on meat quick. They're super aggressive fish, so they're just growing.
Yep. Well,
But
it'll
then,
be really cool to see if more water bodies, get them. I know with it being a hybrid, the jury's kind of out with some people as to, what we're messing with. Obviously, that's not my place to kind of say, but, at the end of the day, it's a pretty cool species to be able to target.
oh yeah, and there's gonna be some new opportunities. There's a new brown trout lake just west of here that's has the potential to be a real good brown trout lake, and I'm super excited for those browns to get big in there.
That's amazing. It's funny you mentioned browns. I've been talking to some people that actually have access to city lakes where there's membership and stuff. And, we're having a huge problem with Prussians being introduced, obviously. And, some of these places are trying to introduce trout species like browns to try to, eradicate them. Obviously, some of the Prussians I've seen and caught myself, I mean, they're probably not going to be the right size for those fish to be eating them, but one could always hope, right?
Yeah, no, that's a big problem. Should probably get some bow fishing on them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we should push for a bow season.
There is a bow season.
Well, there you go. See, this is about education. Tell me more. I mean, it's off the tiger trout trail, but let's run with it, man.
Well, you can bow fish in Alberta. It's just certain species. I believe it's burbot, whitefish, suckers, and like Persian carp. I'm sure they have no problem with you slinging an arrow through them.
Yeah. Now, the only downfall with that is, you probably couldn't fish with me because if it's anything like not being able to close my tackle box, it would probably be very easy for you to end up with maybe a war wound because of me. So, if we try it, we'll keep our distance.
Yeah, no, I'll wear the appropriate gear and just keep you way ahead of me.
You'll be shielded up.
Yeah.
Ricky's just asking, any species in Alberta you both still have on the bucket list? Mitch, why don't you go first? What's your bucket list?
Oh man, I got a stone cat and the golden trout. Aaron actually got me. We were supposed to helicopter into a lake out by Nordegg for my birthday last year, but it's right when that snowstorm hit. And we kind of opt out because it's supposed to just be, I think, 1.5 foot snow or something up there.
Mm-hmm.
For the 2 days we were supposed to be there. So we just pulled the pin and went to BC bass fishing instead. And that was a blast.
Yeah, which we've seen you catch some pretty awesome fish out of there, right? I mean, BC's a wicked fishery. You mentioned stonecat. Now, we've seen a few this year, right? Adam Turnbull, I know he caught one. I've seen pictures of them. They do exist. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool couple species. Golden trout's on mine too. I'm not a hiker. Again, for any of you that have fished with me, hiking is a little bit of a beast. I mean, I guess if I started training now, maybe we could go for a hike this summer, Mitch. I don't know. You could pack me up and I'll roll us back.
Getting some sheep shape, I think we can get you up there, or get some Sherpas, and maybe we can get a mule for you.
Yeah, that would actually be cool. Or maybe, I'll win the lottery and I'll get a Sikorsky to freight me up there and drop me off. That would be pretty sweet too.
Maybe you should just get a helicopter.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? So for me, bucket list, Ricky, and people are going to laugh at me when I say this. Golden trout. I mean, so many of you guys, I know I've seen Ricky catch them. Probably most of the people in here watching, with exception of a few, Goldens are high on the bucket list for a lot of people. I love seeing guys and gals that have been out there and caught them. I think it's just phenomenal. But my bucket list fish, I'm going to go with ice fishing because it's ice fishing season. Ooh. If everyone's ready for a laugh, I've never caught a whitefish ice fishing.
Oh, man. You got to come. We'll get you one.
Yeah, for a self-proclaimed, passion for the sport kind of guy, no go. Open water, yes. Ice, no.
Yeah, no,
No,
come
no,
up.
no.
You run in the morning.
Yeah, and I'm starting to feel like I'm the only guy. I've got lots of tips, lots of ideas, but maybe that's something we'll cover in your upcoming pro tips, which people will get to learn a lot more from you, because you are going to be the pro tip staff dude for On the Other Line Canada. So really looking forward to it.
That's quite the title.
I wonder how big of a card we need for that.
Or a shirt.
A shirt, a really big shirt.
I could just get it everywhere.
You'd need a shirt my size, so like a 3X, but we can try to make it fit.
I think that'd be more of a moo-moo.
Yeah, or a back tattoo challenge.
Yeah, if you lose, you gotta get that on. If you can't catch a whitefish, you get that, then I'll just get a whitefish.
Oh man, I better get on it. I'm wasting time. Maybe I'll have to get out there tomorrow.
Yeah.
What else we got for questions? Anyone, if you guys have questions, feel free to fire away. We still got a little bit of time. Obviously, with us being our first week, we're focusing on a 1 hour show. If it runs a little bit shorter, that's fine too. Longer won't happen. We like to keep them to 1 hour. So if you do have any questions, fire away. Now's your chance with Mitch.
Yeah, no, back on those whitefish, like in the summer on a 3-weight, that's incredible. We had a stellar year on whitefish in open water. Like, just the lake we're fishing, it's crystal clear. You're in 8 feet of water, just casting to them. It's poor man's bonefish. Just strip that little nymph right in front of them and just give them the business. It's on.
Yeah, I think one thing I need to do more of is fly fishing. I mean, I have all the gear. I just don't focus on it enough. So I think practice makes perfect. I'm going to have to get out there and start doing some winter casting to get ready.
Yeah, you better. There's a lot of good trips coming up this year, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no reason not to get out there, even with the crowds, right?
Yeah, there's always those spots. I got some deadly spots the crowds are a lot smaller at and more remote. So you might get some scratches on your truck, maybe stuck, but we'll get some sweet spots.
Well, we're 2 Ford guys, right? So, I mean, obviously we're not going to drag everyone down into the age-old debate of what's your brand for obvious reasons, because we'll be here probably debating that for hours, and this is just a fishing show. So we got a question from, I don't know, I've never heard of this guy. Jared Littlejohn? Have you heard of this guy?
No.
He's probably new to the sport. Not familiar with him. Jared asks, what do you like using for whites through ice?
Whites through ice? Slender spoons. If you've ever seen a slender spoon, it's a tiny spoon, pretty much like this Williams wobbler, but it's much thinner.
Mm-hmm.
But this Williams wobbler brings them in like nothing. And below, there's these red woolly buggers. Work really good, almost. And the green ones work great too. That's all we used in the summer, were these green guys and those red ones in the summer on the fly. And they just gobbled it. If it went by their face, they were smashing it and taking us for a ride.
Oh, we also hear a lot of people talking about wire worms. Do you use a lot for wire worms as well?
No, I'm against the wire worm movement.
Okay, well, we might have hit a nerve here, okay? Because I have a whole box of wire worms. Obviously, they're not doing anything, but...
No, they're a classic. They're a go-to they've been around forever and they work. I just like to find that new hook that they just don't see it very often, right? And once you find that hook, you can get that bite going. And once those fish get on, they're going. Yeah.
Kevin's asking, do you ever use scuds? He's never tried.
No, but I bet you they'd work good.
Yeah.
they're in the lake. They're probably a good food source for them. So they're always going over those weed patches, the patches of weeds and that sandy flat. That patch bottom's perfect. So you got your vegetation where all those bugs from the lake are sitting, the scuds and everything. So they'd probably work perfect.
Yeah, well, there's a challenge for you, Kevin. Next time you're out, give it a try. And picks or it didn't happen, bud. That's all I can say. There's only one way to find out. And then when you catch one on it, send me a pin and I'll go out and just confirm that it's legitimate. Okay, that'll be the best way I could do that. A couple of guys in here saying as well that stone cats are definitely on their list. I mean, those things are small.
Yeah, 12-inch is a big one, I think.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I always say when I'm down mule deer hunting that I'm going to go for one because I'm only probably 30 minutes away, but maybe, well, not this year, but next year I'll be drawing. So I'll put a night shift in on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't even really aware of them as much as when I saw, Adam Turnbull catch them this summer. Yeah. And I just think it's so cool when you're able to target stuff like that and really find what you're hunting for, right? I mean, I'm probably going to bring that up with Adam next week. I'll make a note of it right now, because probably be some people interested to know a little bit more about that, right? So,
oh yeah, super cool. Catfish are awesome.
Yep,
I love catching catfish. As a kid, sitting on the dock catching bullheads, that was a blast.
Bullheads are fun. Blacks and browns, I did those this summer.
Oh, yeah.
They sting. It hurts. I've had numb hands for a couple hours.
You gotta get that grip.
Oh man, I tell you what, you learn the first time. Yep. Yeah. Bullheads and drums, man, they will get you. That does not feel nice, and I'm pretty good at beating my hands up on a fishing trip. You ask anyone that's been out with me. Michelle is on here saying, Mitch, my husband says you know where the burbs are. Can you take us out sometime?
Yeah, we'll see. Depends on work, Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, work has to come first. I mean, in a perfect world, you just be out 24/7 fishing, right? But unfortunately, that's not how it goes for many of us. I know I always get the gears about how I'm always fishing or fishing during the week, and it's, it goes back to that pressure sometimes. And I know with a lot of water bodies, we're running out of time for burbot, right? What is there, like a month left on some water bodies? End of February, I think.
Yeah. Or is it February 1st? It might be February 1st. I'd have to look. I don't. Usually, I know January is good, but I think it might be February 1st.
Yeah. As we tell everyone, regulations are different for each body of water. Don't trust what anyone tells you. Research it. Yeah,
always check before you go. Sometimes I check twice just because I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and in my experience, always make sure it's the actual site or the actual book. There are a couple pages out there I have found where the regulations are actually not up to date, and that could get you in some trouble. Darren's just telling us you're right. It is February 1st.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as a good feed of burbot and beer batter, you're running out of time. You got 12 days left.
That's central Alberta mostly. If you head north, I think the season's longer and your catch limit's higher too.
Well, maybe I know what we need to go for in February when I see you.
I know we've done good on Slave in March a few years back. Pounded birds, like one after another, sitting in 10 feet of water. It was nuts how many that were coming out of the hole.
It actually makes me laugh, to talk about burbot and how many people have not really been fans of trying to eat them. And burbot's probably one of my most favorite fish to eat.
Oh yeah, I've always loved burbots. If you could keep them, that's supper that night. Fresh fish is the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't really freeze fish. It's just into the frying pan. That's just just the way I like it. That freshness is awesome.
Yeah, Sebastian's saying he's a big fan, and I know that because I saw Sebastian get basically his first one through the ice, I think it was, and Sebastian can correct me if I'm wrong. I told him, I'm like, dude, you got to eat it. It's my favorite fish of all time to eat.
Yeah, no, they're delicious. Last time, well, I was out with Sebastian a couple of weeks ago, I think, and he pulled up a bird, but he didn't eat it because the boy wanted to go back, and you got to listen to your kids sometimes.
Yes, I mean, you have to keep the kids happy, right?
Yeah,
and we may or may not have some kids in here. We've got some of the younger generation coming up in a few weeks. I know we've got Jared and Sladen. Everyone just calls them Sladen now. And, that's the one thing about this show is talking about even the younger generations and what's coming up for this passion and the stewardship of being able to pass it on, right? So, Sebastian, when the kid says, let's go home, Dad, you got to go home. You don't really have a choice. Oh, Sebastian said to say he caught another one later in the day after you left there. So
then bonked it.
Yeah. And James is saying that biggest burb last year at Slave, which you mentioned, 2 feet of water.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So that might have to be on my bucket list this year to go check out Slave Lake.
Slave is a sweet fishery. There's some, in fact, I've caught some big perch in there.
Really, eh?
30 feet of water, tanks.
That might be a whole nother topic because we both know what it's like when it comes to perch talk. It's the smallest fish with the biggest game, I think. Everyone seems to want their perch. What do we got here from Darren? Wife, where are you fishing? Dixon Dam. Wife, how many burb can you catch? Me, there aren't none. So why? Yeah, so Darren's just bringing up the fact that, his wife is like, if you're not going to a lake without burbot, why are you wasting my time? Maybe she just wants to get you out of the house. You never know. Or she's hinting at burb hunting only.
Yeah, no. We've been catching on about 18 to 20 feet right now.
Yeah.
The bottom drop-offs. That's where they're moving right now. Bear hook, bear treble, like an inch off the bottom with a minnow. And just dead stick it.
Right. Yeah, they're fun to target. Ricky with another question. And we got about 12 minutes left in the show, maybe a little bit less. I love this guy's questions. What's your favorite fish to catch and eat? Well, I mean, obviously mine's burbot. Mitch, what would you say?
Oh, brookie or Arctic char. They're pretty close for me.
Oh, Arctic char.
Yeah, Arctic char is a good one. We've had some good fishing trips on the Alaska Highway just outside of Watson Lake heading north. There's a lake called Veronica and full of Arctic char. And me and Aaron stopped there once with Tinny and dropped her in there. And I think she got a 5-pound one and like a 16. We had that 16 on the barbecue. Man, it was delicious that night.
That's the way to do it because considering how expensive char is, it's probably one of those fish that you're not wasting money to go out and catch it.
Yeah, as long as they're close though. The Yukon's got a lot of stocked lakes with them, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got Kevin agreeing with you on the char and Sebastian agreeing with you on the brookies.
Yeah.
Which, tomorrow, I'm going for brookies. We'll see. That's all I can say. We'll see. I'll try to maybe steal some of your tiger/trout tips, incorporate them tomorrow, see what happens. No guarantees. Anyone, again, that's fished with me knows that my saying is fish with the intention of catching nothing, and I've mastered that. The last 6 or 7 outings have been awesome. Kevin's asking for an invite. Kevin, you're on the list. I sent it in the mail. Not sure why you didn't get it yet, but maybe pop down your mailbox there. It might be sitting in there for you. Well, it looks like it wraps up for pretty much the questions. Next week, we've got someone else coming in, and I don't know what you think of this guy. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. We got the Horseshoe Kid, Adam Turnbull. Now, I think anyone that's seen a little bit of what Adam does, I wouldn't call him crazy. I don't know what the word is. Is hardcore? Hardcore seems a little bit too easy. But I don't know if you've been following what Adam's been doing this year, Mitch, but
he's been a busy guy.
Very busy. I mean,
putting out a lot of videos, doing a lot of hard work, boots on the ground. He's always been a hard fisherman. Me and Aaron got to fish with him once for sturgeon, caught my first sturgeon with him. So that was awesome.
Yeah. For anyone that's followed a little bit of what I've done, I mean, Adam and I spent almost a week in a rental car targeting some new species. And I mean, the kid's got game. There's no doubting that. Spends Christmas on a lake.
Yeah.
So what's that tell you, right? Well, Mitch, I want to thank you for joining me on our very first broadcast of On the Other Line Canada. You and I have already talked about this. We're going to expect to see a whole lot more of you, more of your tips, more of your feedback. I love you, man. You and I have been fishing together for a long time, and you're a wealth of knowledge. So I really appreciate you really getting me motivated to even give this a try. I think you would agree with me that this is something that there are many shows and podcasts and stuff like that people should check out about the sport of fishing in Canada. But I'm really excited that, you kind of put the idea into my head and we're going to be able to work together on growing this. And I think just from the feedback we're getting from a lot of people this evening, it's been really positive, right? So thanks for joining me on the show, and looking forward to working with you a whole lot more.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. We're going to have a blast. I think we're going to have a great episodes on the lake, off the lake, cooking fish, doing just everything about the sport and bringing the knowledge to the people.
Absolutely. And you and I have already talked about this. We'll drop a little hint. We are going to do a live show from a body of water in February, and who knows what we'll be doing, but chances are it won't be with me sitting here with everything on a storage shelf, or you sitting there with your computer in the background. So everyone stay tuned to that. And thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you next week with the Horseshoe Kid, Adam Turnbull, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And we will leave this with a little shout out from our sponsors. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a good one.